Take some walks. Maybe pick up a nice hobby. A girl your age. You should be exploring new horizons. I'd like to know you're taking care of yourself. For many people, these traumas become a mental trap. They get stuck, like a ship frozen in ice. But there's another type of person. You know what happens to them? Miss Croft?
We become who we're meant to be.
Rise of the Tomb Raider is a sequel to the 2013 game Tomb Raider, a successful reboot of the series with the dual-wielding gaming icon Lara Croft. Is this sequel a worthy successor to one of the best games of the last generation, or does Square Enix just use the name for a quick buck? Let's find out. I don't think that's any surprise to anyone, but the story in Tomb Raider isn't anything special. You have yet another mysterious group that rivals the main protagonist in a race for an artifact. Trinity, the secret order that is trying to kill Lara, is just as bland and uninspired as the main villain Constantine. There are far too little moments where he shows any symptoms of humanity, and you will forget him as soon as the game finishes. There are almost none twists and turns, and as a whole the story is highly predictable. The one character I like though is Jacob, and I won't spoil where he comes in play, but I really like the idea behind him. But he was underused and begged for more screen time. All the others except Lara are pretty forgettable. I can say that the performances in the game are solid. Not excellent, but work just well enough for them to feel realistic. You may like the story, but personally it isn't that compelling for me. But what I can say is that it has that adventure feel, which I presume is enough. Next comes the gameplay, and I really love it. A big part of the game is the exploration of the world, and I must say the developers outdid themselves. The game in general is super beautiful, with sceneries that will just take your breath away, from the hot and dry landscapes of Syria to the wilderness and caves of snowy Siberia. To be fair, there isn't any variety to the locations, but the ones that are in are eye candy and will always have a fresh feel to them, even though you generally stay in the same place. What also may help for the immersion is that there isn't any HUD and the whole screen is just taken by the image itself. There are various camera angles which make the game feel more dynamic. It isn't just in the standard third person, and will sometimes zoom into Lara to make a scene feel claustrophobic, or will zoom out around a rocky corner of a cliff in order for you to feel the vastness of the world. These dynamic camera shifts are used in the now established for the franchise set pieces in which the Croft girl jumps around falling debris or evades near-death situations. Here comes the part when I must acknowledge the fact that they made a great checkpoint system. Every time you die, regardless of the situation, you end up exactly at the place where you last were. The game is semi-open world, by which I mean that there are a couple of zones you can move freely into between the linear sections. This time around there are side missions which you can choose to accept, but they are completely optional and aren't that interesting to begin with. They mainly consist of fetch quests, and nobody likes fetch quests. As the name suggests, there are tombs in the game, 2 more in fact than in the previous one. They are scattered around the map and it is up to you to find them. They represent mini puzzles which, if completed, grant you access to a book which ultimately gives you a special ability like faster aiming. There are also many ways in which you can traverse the open world. The navigation consists of jumping around, holding to ledges, using your pickaxe to lock onto ice walls, or just swing around. The last part that holds together the game is the combat. As the navigation is also really fluid. You have 4 weapons of choice: the bow, a pistol, a rifle, and a shotgun. There is an upgrade system where you can make your weapons even greater, with custom attachments and enhancements for reload speed, damage, or rate of fire. Same goes for the skill tree, which offers various abilities which can help you traverse the terrain or help you take your enemies faster and in different ways. Most of the time there are two ways you can approach these combat situations. You can either do it stealthy and feel like a silent predator,
We call it in. Don't bother. Everyone's packing up and getting ready to move out. Good. We finally get what we came for. Hard to say. Constantine just gave a general order to prepare. This is your first field op for Trinity? No. I was sent to help clean up the island after Croft escaped. Tough job. You had to kill natives there too. Yeah, some kind of sun cult. Crazy bastards. Amazing.
or go in full guns blazing and brew hell upon your enemies. Either way, it's very entertaining and all blended together with excellent animations. You can see time spent on them, and it has been worth it because they came up beautifully and realistically. As a conclusion, I can say that if you're a fan of these types of games, it is a must buy, but if you have a problem with short games wanting full price, you may want to wait for a price drop, because I took my time finding all the side stuff and knocked around 20 hours. The fact that the game is almost linear has given the makers the chance to craft every single piece the way it's intended, and I am surely seeing myself playing this again. I rate this game a solid 8 out of 10.